I started the business to re-empower the society and community and local merchants. They started the business to replace the gigantic retailers.
Right.
So that's fundamental philosophical difference. And it is very difficult to change. Employees hate me changing, and they say, okay, we're going to just copy Amazon.com, they're going to hate me.
Mickey, thank you so much for joining us. We were in Tokyo.
Right.
This is the scene of your...
Obviously, we're in Tokyo.
Yes, it's a beautiful... This is my first shoeless interview.
Really?
So I'm really enjoying this. From now on, they're all shoeless. I want to talk to you about some of the changes that are going on with Rakuten in Japan and your business here. You're the largest e-commerce marketplace in Japan. But I really want to start talking about the culture of Rakuten and something you started in 2010, where you told the entire company one day, from now on, all business is going to be conducted in English.
Yes.
We're going on almost a decade since that pronouncement.
Yes.
Would you talk a little bit about why you made that change and how it's played out?
I am a strong believer of Japanese culture. We have a very strong sense of hospitality. They are pretty impressed by the quality of Japanese service. And we have a very good sense of teamwork. And then we have been inventing many things. However, we had one of the big issues, which was language. And I was really thinking about how I can solve this issue. And then one day I came up with a crazy idea. What if I change internal language from Japanese to English? And at the same time, it is obvious that we are going to face very serious recruitment challenges in the future, because there aren't so many computer scientists, programmers, or data scientists in Japan. There are only 16,000 graduates every year who majored in computer science in Japan. In US, it's over 300,000. And probably in China, like 1 million maybe. I don't know, but maybe India, there are 2 million.
Right.
So, and it is obvious that all this technology is going to be definitely more important. So, can we survive with only Japanese scientists and engineers, or do we need to, bring in best and brightest from all over the world? The answer is, obvious. I told them we have to do this. Right? That's how we started.
What was the initial term?
Initial term was basically 2 years. We extended to 5 years. But I knew I have to do it. But I just wanted to, come up with a very aggressive target and to move things forward. But I knew if I started talking about this, even with my executive, all of them are going to disagree with me.
Right.
So I said, I just went in front of all the, everybody in the company, and I just announced.
Was there pushback that you listened to, or were you so confident in why this was the right move that you weren't willing to hear people tell you why they thought it was not maybe a great idea or was moving too fast?
Well, I think it depends on the goal, business objective or business goal of your company, right? We have no intention to stay just as Japanese company. Our ambition is to become a global service company. If you want to become global service company, the organization need to be global.
Right.
And if you have Japanese people speaking just in Japanese, and you have international section right on the side, there'll be a wall.
Right.
I said no compromise. Right. Even your Japanese sales staff sending to Japanese client, we're going to do this in English.
Wow. Right. So you talked about the idea of recruitment. You talked about the idea of doing this to be a global company, a global competitor. One of the other things you've talked about is switching to English because it breaks down some cultural problems you were running into within the company, that speaking in Japanese caused people to act in a certain way. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Japanese is kind of special language. I think it is the only language which use two completely different sets of character. So it's very, very eloquent. And you can, always answer to the question without saying yes or no.
Right.
Maybe yes, maybe no. That kind of language. And so making it English, which is a little bit more clear, we can be more specific about our decision-making processes and our planning and so forth, because there's no ambiguity for everything.
Do you recommend when other CEOs come to you and they say, hey, Mickey, should I do the same thing you did? First of all, do other Japanese executives come and ask you whether they should do that? And what kind of advice do you give them?
Never.
They really don't?
Well, there are several other companies announced that they are going to do similar in a project, but almost all of them kind of gave up in the middle point. I don't think they have the huge commitment like us, I think. Right? They say, okay, maybe just R&D department will do business do meetings in English, but not sales team. And if you do this way, again, there will be a line or wall. Gradually, this line will go closer. The Japanese, how do you call it? The community will evade and push out non-Japanese.
So have you been surprised that this hasn't started more of a groundswell?
Not yet. But I think, still the problem is Japanese, the market is big enough, yet shrinking, right? And sooner or later, some company will try to do the same thing. At the same time, the other reason I initiated this project is not only for my company, but I wanted to send a very strong signal to the entire Japanese society. We need to globalize people.
Right now, about 14% of your workforce is non-Japanese.
In Japan?
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you want to triple that, I've read recently.
Well, already, as for engineering side, either it's a programmer or a data scientist or AI engineer, 80% of new tech people we're hiring in Japan are non-Japanese. And most of them come from China or India or somewhere else. They have never lived in Japan, and then they don't speak Japanese.
Wouldn't it be normal as a business, for you to start wanting to standardize everything? You get more data, you can run tests more efficiently. As in an AI world, you can start trying different things out if you control the entire system from A to B. How do you not end up falling into the same path that most of the global giants have?
Well, I think from the beginning, the reason why we started the business are very, very different. I started the business to empower the society and the community and local merchants. They started the business to replace the gigantic retailers.
Right.
So that's fundamental philosophical difference. And it is very difficult to change. Employees hate me changing, and they say, okay, we're going to just copy Amazon.com, they're going to hate me.
It's part of your culture, is to always be this way.
Yeah,
right?
it is the fundamental, the foundation of the philosophy of our company.
Do you feel comfortable that is where shopping trends are going? That's good for merchants. Is it good for consumers?
Sure. So again, we will have a basic, kind of a standardization or unification, and beyond that, the merchant can be more flexible. Some people like to go to, big supermarket. Some people like to go to the mall, right? And why people go to the mall instead of going to big department store? The malls have a different character, it's experience, it's more interesting.
Right.
So we're going to have department and mall, right? We're going to have a variety of, formats,
right,
where the consumer can enjoy.
You're such a believer in globalization. You are pushing Japanese companies to embrace English as a way for Japan to be less protectionist. But if you look at the trends in the world, the borders are closing, tariffs are coming up, especially in the U.S. You look at trends like what's going on with Brexit. First of all, are you surprised by these barriers coming up? And second, what does it mean for companies and for your company in particular?
Well, I was kind of expecting this.
Really?
But I didn't expect this to happen so fast.
Why were you expecting it?
Well, the U.S. has been the number one country in the world, leader of the world, and now the other big country is rising up. Can American people, stand? I had some of the people in the United States may have a big concern about it, and something will happen. But I didn't know how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. But I think this is kind of natural for me.
Right.
So, but we need to overcome.
Does it have an impact on your business?
Not yet. Maybe in the future it may have impact to overall global economy, which is not good. But I think two big countries need to, open up and trying to find peaceful way to solve this.
We'd love to end with some career advice. When Japanese students come up to you and say, I want to be just like you, I want to start companies, I want to be an entrepreneur, what kind of advice do you give them?
Well, there are so many different ways of becoming entrepreneur. I used to work for a Japanese bank, went to a business school in the United States, get enough training, and I started my own company at the age of 30. There are people like Mark Zuckerberg or even Bill Gates who started the business when they're in college, and yet became extremely successful. So it depends on the ability and skills of the person. But for ordinary people, you have to be well prepared to start your business, unless you are super talented, engineer or something.
Right.
Yeah, you wanted to get the background and understanding of basic finance, accounting, cash management, HR management, and then start something. Unless you have
unless you're a superstar.
You're a superstar, or you have super disruptive technology or idea.
And then, do you recommend that people become entrepreneurs? When you're talking to students, you're talking to young people who have been in the job for a couple years, do you push them to go and find their own thing, or are you okay with the idea of people working their way up through large companies?
Sure. So becoming entrepreneurial or becoming entrepreneur are a little bit different. Right? And the definition of entrepreneur depends on, are you talking about a startup, or are you trying to give the influence to the society through the business? It has nothing to do with the size of the business. But I think my definition of entrepreneur is become the leader of the business and give the huge impact to the society. So in that sense, yes. Everybody should start their own business? Definitely no. It's not so easy.
Right.
So and it's risky for some people. But if you're ambitious enough, why not? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So be entrepreneurial, and if you're ambitious enough, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.